Welcome to the Pundits. Apologies for the delay. We had some technical difficulties, but we are here. It's Wednesday night, and we got a loaded show for you. I am your moderator, Denzel Snipes. Hopefully, my system can act right for the next hour. And again, we got a loaded show for you. Thank you for tuning in. You are live on the Sideline Sports Network. And let's go ahead and bring the crew in here. I haven't introduced this brother first in a while, but to us live. Hi, yo. He is the Rocky Mountain Rebel, Mr. Gordon Long. Come on in here.
Hey, Denzel. How's it going, man? Sounds like you're still having a few technical
Man,
difficulties.
I'm trying to these technical.
It's frustrating. We'll just roll punches, man. It's all good.
Yeah, I. Yeah, it was right here until I decided.
I think your system's still not working, man.
No, he got me on at least.
Yeah.
At least he got me on.
You with us?
Yo, yeah. We definitely know your dial-up is a little tough tonight. There's a lot of line busies on the other end from your girls.
There you go.
Something like that, yeah. And last but not least, here's the architect of the South Florida Tribune. Catch him next on Sideline Sports at the South Florida Tribune with the Sports Exchange. Jacob's going to be there. JB's going to be there. He's got a lot of people in his house on Wednesday nights. Come on in here, Scott Morganroth.
There, you got the name right, too. I'm impressed. Okay.
Finally!
I didn't know if we were on an AOL dial-up connection tonight, whether we could kick them around. Oh, bad thing with AOL. Once upon a time, another lifetime ago. Yeah, looking forward to a pretty good show, as we always do on Pundit Pundit. So, and I'll be on actually Pundit Pundit and Confidential afterwards. I get the triple crown like Jacob. So
yeah, you get to feel you feel like I do every night.
Huh?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Well, before we get started, of course, the one and only banner at the bottom of the screen, our ticker. You can catch us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. So if you're catching us on one of those platforms, you can catch us on the other two. Also, you can catch us on LinkedIn as well. A few of us have LinkedIn. You should be able to go ahead and check us out on there as well. And with that being said, and let me see here, let me get time hack here. Okay, cool. We're still good. All right, so let's go ahead and get the first topic in. And that is, as of late, last week, everyone is familiar with the story of Emmitt Till and the tragedy that happened to him. Well, his accuser, the one that falsely accused him, she recently died at the age of 88. To those of you who aren't familiar with it, this was a 14-year-old boy who walked into a public place. Now, stories conflict. Those that were with Emmitt Till said that he was just trying to get by her to get to the other side of the store. She falsely accused him of probably touching her and saying inappropriate things. Her husband and his friends went and hunted him down. They mutilated him. They lynched him. They killed him. His mother actually requested an open casket funeral because she wanted the world to know what happened, what they did to her little boy. Not to mention all of his killers, they were all acquitted. Well, she is finally passed at the age of 88. There has been widespread, pretty much non-grievance of this woman, no sympathy for this woman, and honestly, understandably so. The family of Emmitt Till seems to have moved on, but like so many people, both black and non-black, and they don't feel anything for this woman at all. They feel like good riddance. Some feel like will have a little decency of life and what. Is all, but this thing that she was most known for, and actually is a little known fact, was in the police station in her local area in the basement. They found an arrest warrant for her that was already signed, but they decided not to go and arrest her because at the time period she was the mother of two boys, and they didn't want to take her away from her boys. And it's like, well, what she did took a boy away from his mother, so it doesn't make any sense. But it was your typical deep South, racism type deal. But I want to swing it on over to Jordan Long and your thoughts on the recent passing of Carolyn Bryant Dunham.
I mean,
and you can be as transparent as you want.
Honestly, like you said, and nobody has sympathy for this lady. She was involved in probably one of the worst, racial injustices in America. The thing that, while I was reading about it, is the fact that it was an all-white, jury. That's what acquitted everybody. And there are, differences in what actually happened. But the point is, Emmitt Till died for what? We don't really know. We have conflicting reports. The fact is that he was, he was black-skinned. And, in the South, that's really bad, especially when you're, a white person, because the white race is, always going to be dominant there, especially with a white jury. I mean, honestly, though, we're still seeing it in today's world. That's the sad part. We still see black injustices. And it's just, again, I don't feel sorry for this woman. She's going to go down knowing what happened, and we actually won't.
Yeah, totally agreed. She very quickly became, that is, once the progression of America kind of happened throughout time, she went from being the innocent accuser, quote unquote, to one of the, most storied villains in American history. But I want to take it to Jacob here, and your thoughts on the legacy of Emmitt Till, and your thoughts on basically the thing that made Carolyn Bryant Dunham infamous for the rest of her life.
Well, I'm gonna give a lot of it to you. I'm gonna give a lot of this to you tonight because you wanted to be able to have it. This is your topic, but I'm gonna say this part. A lot of this was just awful. A lot of it that just happened. First off, none of the people that were searching down Emmitt Till knew where he was. The sharecroppers that were over there, I was reading through this, so I'll do this kind of stuff. The sharecroppers that were around, they got for ratting him out where he was. There was a couple of them that did. They both got 50 cents credit inside of that because that store was for the sharecroppers that he went into, that Emmitt Till went into. They went to see another crime, and I'll say this, Jordan, another quote unquote crime was the fact that he's from Chicago. Emmitt Till was from Chicago. Not the same type of, there's always the racism, but not the same as you would get in the Deep South like this. He handed the 2 cents for the gum to the girl who was touching her hand. That was another thing they considered. Just the horrifying. Then a lot of the stuff that they did too, giving the 50 cents to the sharecroppers, the black sharecroppers got that kid killed. And they did that just because they had nothing. 50 cents, it gives us a break. And considering you get 2 cents for a pack of gum, this or that or whatever, that's what they were thinking. And they got a kid lynched over that. You know what I'm saying? It's just that kind of horrible crime. But the thing that I can think about the most is I've seen that open casket. I've seen that face. He looked like an 85-year-old man. A 14-year-old boy did. You know that? Looked like an 85-year-old man that was burned in a fire. Mm-hmm. And there's movies with this now. Remember Mississippi Burning? Gene Hackman. There's these like that. We have I can just give that one example. There's a bunch of them. And really right now, there's more people in this world that, we are a more civilized world when it comes to minorities, but we still have people out there that have this thought process everywhere. And considering how much that the media shames and there's people and they shame them, they do all this stuff and all the stories and all of that, and it's still not working. It's going to take all of us for his example. You know my point, man? It's going to take all of us as an example.
Mm-hmm.
You start understanding each other and stop it, because this is going to burn down the hate before any kind of shaming, any kind of, because you know something, all these years she didn't tell the real truth, and she was shamed in the media every single way. She didn't tell the truth. I mean, only thing she says, it didn't happen like this. She was like 79 years old when she said it, and it didn't do a thing. And it's like, we're doing all of this, and the shaming is almost a show, but we're not doing anything for ourselves. But mind you, the young kids are getting along with each other now. It's a more diverse group of people in these schools now, so they are our example. But in the end, we're still seeing a bunch of hate all over the place. And what can we do? All we can do is set an example. That's all we can do, because this is gross. What we see is, and,
right, absolutely, and she actually had. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go with Scott. Then I want to hear everything from yours, because this was yours. Okay.
Okay. Then, go ahead. Go ahead, Scott.
If Black Lives Matter, they didn't hear. That's all I can tell you. I mean, let's face the reality. Okay. Everything around you talk about I'd rather watch crime shows on Ion than to hear about this. At least, they're fictional. This is unfortunately real. But I don't know. I mean, we're talking Civil War stuff, here in 2023 type material, right? Do you think this problem will ever get solved? No way. I don't care how much we talk about it. You can be on every platform on the planet. What are you going to do? Social media is going to blow it up. Everybody's going to lie to cover their backside, and the dynamics are going to always be consistent, and unfortunately another life was taken and nobody did a darn thing about it except hide it and cover it up pretty much, didn't they? That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, I mean, there was 9-man jury, 9-man,
right.
6 men, 3 men, 6 men, 3 women.
Right. Everybody in time likes to go back to the Watergate as one of the biggest cover-ups on the planet, but boy, this one's ugly all the way, isn't it? Why do I bring Watergate up? I mean, for real. I mean, this whole thing here, for me, anytime you have a cover-up and controversy when it comes to cheating and illegal activity, you're never going to get it solved. I'm sorry. I mean, you know what? We could go out there all day long on every platform, and the more we publicize it, the worse it gets, because even though this situation is what it is, okay, it could happen somewhere else. Now, when you talk about white versus black, okay, well, then obviously it becomes a bit more magnified. What would happen if it were the other way, right?
Right, true.
So,
I don't know. It's just unfortunate, but I don't think anybody will ever learn anyway. So,
and I want to hear your end, Scott. I'm not Scott. I mean, I want to hear your end. Let's see, Denzel, because this was yours.
Okay, you can still hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I had to switch out because I'm still having issues here. So basically, and mind you, she was in an interview, I think about a few years back, and she kind of changed her words, but without taking full accountability for it. She basically said, she still maintained that he touched her inappropriately, but then she went on to say, should he have been killed for it? Absolutely not. However, he paid for it with his life, and I paid for it with an altered life for the rest of my life. And it's like, what are you really saying here? Okay, so like, on one end, you're saying, no, he shouldn't have been killed for it, but on the other end, you're not taking accountability because that man never touched you like that, And it's just something where it's unfortunate. Carolyn Bryant Donham is the prime example of someone who will literally take a lie to their grave, no matter how extreme it is. And if she can do it, imagine how many others can and will do it, especially if it's race related, So I will say this much, as far as race relations have gone since then, is there has been progression, but it's still a long way to go. This is obvious from seeing incidents such as what happened with George Floyd, what happened with Eric Garner, what happened with Philando Castile, and so forth. I'm not going to compare the incidents, but they are injustices. They're all injustices the same. you know, and especially in the last three that I just mentioned, because that had to do with law enforcement, you know. And so that right there creates another dynamic, is there has to be some type of positive dialogue, some type of communication with law enforcement, you know, and how that's going to better relations with the African American community, you know. But as far as Carolyn Bryant Dunham goes, I'll be flat out honest with you. I don't feel sympathy for her, you know. And it just is what it is, you know. It's like seemingly when she died, it officially like closed the chapter on everything. Everyone had been wondering when, and this is where I agree with Scott. You know, everyone was looking for nothing was going to change, nothing was going to change. You know, that's how I felt when all these years people were saying they need to lock her up, they need to lock her up, and I was like, they're never going to lock her up, especially not at that age.
Well, let me take this to a bigger extreme than most people will even realize here. Okay, think about it. Phil Jackson went on record recently that he doesn't watch the NBA anymore, right? Because of the Black Lives Matter movement. Everybody began to speak up in the bubble, right? And yet this man here depended on African Americans to win him 9 million championship rings.
Exactly.
So this problem here is bad there. Now you got a guy who's got a lot of jewelry, and he's all of a sudden lost interest in a league that made him a lot of money and earned him a lot of success. If that isn't absurd, tell me what absurd is, because Phil Jackson, okay, dependent on African Americans to help him win a championship and make a good living. And we're talking about this story, but we can take it to levels that you can fill 2 hours with this topic and still never cover it.
And you know, I can bring this up. When I was talking about earlier with the people we have now in this generation, when we'll go, just drive down the street somewhere, okay? Just drive down the street. You look at the kids together, every little kid, nice group of kids. We all had a group of kid friends, right? We all did.
Right.
You know, group of kids. Look at a group of friends. You know, in a bygone day, it wasn't all black or all white or all whatever. You know what I'm saying? Look at the variety that we see now in a lot of these worlds. Look at the variety. Look at the diversity we see now. There's the start of a lot, because by itself we can't stop the hate of stupidity. I'm talking to everyone here. We can't stop stupidity. I've tried.
Yeah.
I've tried to shame stupidity for the longest time online. To mock it. They stay stupid. We can't shame stupidity. All we can do is one at a time, all of us at a time. We treat with respect, we learn, and we educate ourselves. We educate ourselves about everybody. We educate ourselves in this world. If we're going to do homeschooling, educate every which way. You know, I mean, the slave trades, the Revolutionary War, everything, everywhere. Just do all that and just in the end, when you have children, if you have children, any of you have kids, the best thing that you can absolutely do is, first step whatsoever, is it's respect. There's no different from that end, because a lot of the kids from the past generations weren't taught that.
Right. Absolutely. Well, we do have to move on to our next topic, and this actually is a fragmentary order.
Yep. Yeah.
So, this was say again.
I told Jordan first, and I was going to tell the rest of you guys, and then I got busy. But it's like, I love seeing this, because I've seen Ken Burns Hall of Fame. You know what I mean? The Ken Burns the Negro League documentary. It's awesome.
Oh, okay, awesome. Well, you know what? This was your kind of exercise inject. So go ahead, Jacob, elaborate on this.
Oh yeah. I had a thing tonight. I had a different one tonight on Ziggy Wilf, and we will get to that. But I want all of us to do a lot more research, and we didn't have a lot of time to, so I'm going to skip it for a week or two. But it's an awesome story. But I found a good one here. Kansas City is going to get the Negro League, basically a Negro League Hall of Fame. I'm going to dig deeper into this thing. But they're getting their own building. They're going to get their own couple-story building. We're going to be able to see that, which, guess what? We're with Sideline Sports now, everybody. I think it's all time for all of us to go to that once it's open.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And it's time for us to be able to do that. And it's like, because you know something, I love the history of the Negro Leagues, because Josh Gibson can be Babe Ruth for that moment. They once used to say about Josh Gibson, excuse me, that they once used to say about Josh Gibson that he could flip off a switch and be in bed before the light went out.
Yeah.
You know? And then there's Satchel Paige, who played in Negro Leagues, and he was 57 years old when he played in the majors. You know? And see, a lot of the Negro League, a lot of this is why a lot of people won't give Babe Ruth their credit.
Right.
But I will tell you this. I would give them the credit of that, and I would say they're correct if Babe Ruth didn't hit over 360 like 6 times.
Right.
46 career average. I'm sorry, I don't care who I do not care who who the people you're facing are. I don't care if it's which era that is. That's unreal. That's nearly 4 out of 10 in your career. One of the hardest games on earth with an exceptionally heavy oak bat. And he hit like that. He didn't just hit home runs, just the numbers and his 300s. So yeah, I would agree with him. If he was like a career 275 hitter, I'd be with everybody, and I'd probably be saying Shohei Ohtani's the greatest of all time. But not a guy with 366 times being 280 pounds.
Yeah.
Not that. I'm sorry. I'm not, just because he didn't play again. Just because he didn't play the Negro League people, that was just the time. That was the times. That was just the times. I'm not going to get to that, but at the same time, these were some awesome players too. These are some unbelievable players that never got a chance in the big time themselves, but they made their own.
Yeah. And, it just creates for that whole, it's kind of like on Basketballs when we, try to talk about this person from this era versus this person from this era. And, of course, it's one of the mysteries that will never get solved. We would love to have seen if Willie Stargell could have, struck out Babe Ruth, or Babe Ruth would have hit a home run or something, But I want to pass it on to Jordan Long and get your thoughts about this whole thing.
Honestly, I mean, you guys have touched on it that, this was a way for, let's face it, again, it was in the time where blacks didn't have a lot of playing time in the majors. Of course, they were locked out of it because of the fact that, for whatever reason, baseball didn't want them in. The thing about this Hall of Fame, though, is it's great that they're doing it in Kansas City, because it's actually where it started, which is pretty interesting, I thought. And the thing is, it's going to be $25 million to actually build. I do agree with you guys. It would have been nice to see these Negro players go up against Major League Baseball players like Babe Ruth at the time, but we'll never know. Of course, we know who broke the color barrier, and that was Jackie Robinson. But either way, I think it's great that we're going to actually have a Baseball Hall of Fame, Negro Baseball Hall of Fame, at the site where it was actually created, so people get a better understanding of what actually happened with the Negro Leagues, especially since they couldn't play in Major League Baseball.
Right. Absolutely. It's like, and it's crazy because anybody out there who plays MLB The Show, the Negro Leagues were actually featured, I believe, in this year's edition. So that was always that was always. Say again?
Will you be playing that? The Negro League teams?
You know what? I hadn't downloaded it just yet, but I am curious to see. To put some of the teams from, it'd be like in the NBA 2K or something, put some of the teams from now versus some of the Negro League teams from back then.
There is one thing I hope they don't do, because this is the one thing that these programmers do with these older players. They do this with Mickey Mantle. They'll do it Bird on basketball. They'll do it on everything. They did the Walter Payton on football. The minute they get these older players, they think that they're slower than molasses.
Yeah.
The thing, and then they just move and then you just have to pass the ball, because you can't drive, you can't do this, you can't hit me. And if you hit you have to hit a home run. They think of them as weak because they're old, and I hope they don't do that to the Negro League players, because these were some athletes.
I was just about to say the same thing. You can't do that in baseball, simulation like that, because yes, they were great players. Why do the programmers do that? Oh, probably because none of them really watch them play.
Yeah, that's true.
They're all 22 years old. That's what they think of old people to begin with.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know. Well, to wrap up the topic, want to swing it over to Scott and get your thoughts about the Negro League Hall of Fame to be built.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, I'm glad they're doing it. Kansas City's the right place for it. They took an interest when it's all said and done. But here's a little thing that would really spice it up a little bit. You ready for this? You induct the best Negro League players to ever play. And then what I would do is have a separate wing with the best African American players in Major League Baseball in a separate wing as well. That way you address the African American situation on all levels.
Right.
Think about that for a minute. You know, I mean, let's face the reality. The whole spirit of the Hall of Fame is to acknowledge a league. And then also you talk about it from a standpoint where we're just talking race now at this point, you know, African Americans, you know, and why not? I mean, now you're starting to see a little bit more, you know, Buck O'Neill and some Negro League people, you know, where there's a little bit of, you know, stuff in the Baseball Hall of Fame. So I wouldn't mind if there was a little crossover here, you know, at some point when everything is done at the Negro League. I think it's great. I'm happy for it in Kansas City. And if I ever get an opportunity to go to Kansas City, I have zero problem going there at all. I really don't.
I'm really hoping, and I'll tell you this, we got Buck O'Neill till about 95 years old. I really hope and pray we get Dusty Baker because he's our Buck now.
Pretty much, yeah.
Our last of it. He's our Buck O'Neill, and he's our last. There's anybody else that's going to get to that level that's going to remember that era. You know, and bring him in with a cane the shape of a bat. You know, have him sit down, be the wise old sage.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, moving on to our next topic, and I get going a little bit more over to the deep side of things. So, wait for it. Is it on the screen just yet?
Yep, I see it.
Okay, here we go. Brian Banks, the Duke Lacrosse Team, and the Believe All Women debate. So, to those of you all who don't know about these two incidents, I'll go real quick. Brian Banks was the prodigy that was coming out of Los Angeles, California football. He was slated to go to the University of Southern California. He was falsely accused of rape by Juanetta Gibson, who was his classmate. She was actually put up to it by her mother, who was money hungry. There was a very, very, very poor investigation, quote unquote, by the Los Angeles Police Department and Los Angeles County Sheriff, if I'm not mistaken. And he was falsely accused of rape, and he had to serve 12 years in prison. Then it came out after he was released from prison. He actually set up a meeting with Juanetta Banks, and she admitted that she made the entire thing up. And he hired a private investigator, and he got the confession on tape. And he used that to get his conviction officially overturned and expunged from his record. As far as the Duke Lacrosse Team, this one happened back in 2006, I believe. This was at a party. They had hired a stripper, and they so to those who have been by the word stripper, sex worker, I guess. But she came up there, she performed and everything, and then she falsely accused those guys of rape. And then come to find out it was false, and they were exonerated as well. Now, here's one thing that I did want to point out is, you know, when it comes to the whole falsely accusing of rape thing, some people like to attach it to race. You know, I've heard people say, "Oh, it's a white girl thing," "Oh," and then so forth and so on. And I look at a case like Brian Banks, and it actually was a black girl that did it. Look at the Duke Lacrosse Team incident, and it actually was a black girl that did it. And there was a black girl that set up Mike Tyson. There was a black girl that set up Tupac. You know, you can't attach a race to it. These are just Jezebel, ill-minded women, period. You can't attach a race to it. That's just something that crooked women do, you know? And so I think these incidents have to teach people that you can't automatically take something at face value. You're going to have to ask the questions. You're going to have to do a little digging. You're going to have to do your due diligence, because if you don't, you could very well be assisting in locking an innocent man up in prison for the rest of his life. Everybody on this panel knows that the court of public opinion can be just as bad as the real court system, you know, if not worse. You know what I mean? So I want to start off with Jordan Long and your thoughts on this whole thing, on the whole, the Believe All Women debate, the Brian Banks incident, and of course the Duke Lacrosse Team incident.
Well, these are only two examples that we know of where the women weren't telling the truth, and of course, people believed them. But I'm going to take a different approach to this. The thing is there are women that are raped today. I know I'm taking a little bit different approach, that are still worried that they are going to be believed to this day. Some
Right.
don't come forward because they're scared of, what's going to happen. Even when they do come forward, I mean, I've seen this so many times where the incident doesn't fit the crime. What I mean by that is they don't get enough jail time. It should be higher. It's a slip on the wrist. The thing about these two incidents, at least I know with and Brian Banks, it took a while for the woman to actually say that she made it up. And you said the investigation wasn't very good. I wish they would have done more digging. And same with the Duke Lacrosse. I get women have to be believed, but there's also the incidents of even when they come forward, they're scared to come forward because they're not going to be believed too. So you got to look at both sides of it.
Of course, it's the false accusers that mess it up for the one that had that really happen to them.
Exactly.
And it's just selfish. It's just selfish indeed. And they falsely accuse for many different reasons, either for money or out of vengeance or what have you. But you're 100% correct. They ruin it for the ones that's out there. And those are the ones that I feel for, outside of the men that were, falsely accused. Those are also the ones I feel for the most, of the ones that had that really happen to them. They seemingly won't get justice because they won't be believed because of women like this. But I'm swinging over to Scott. Scott, what do you think about this whole ordeal?
Well, I think the words falsely accused say it all, right? I mean, for crying out loud. How's a person going to get their reputation back? It's bad enough that it would have been years ago where you might have had a puncher's chance, but add social media to the mix and everybody's looking to Google everything about you on the planet. It's an almost impossibility, to ever regain your reputation is really what it is. So, to me, I think it stinks. Falsely accused is bad enough. It really is. I understand that it might make it harder for other females. I get it, but you know what? Falsely accused just says it all. I don't know what to say. I think it's stupid. I really do. And somebody has to be accountable. The ones that are falsely accusing the other individuals, innocent till proven guilty, right? I'd like to know where the heck that statement is or where it's going to go. It doesn't look like it was actually applied here, was it?
Right, that's true.
Why do we keep hearing things from Duke Lacrosse? Is there something about that lacrosse program that gravitates or magnates problems along these lines? I've seen incidents, I don't know if the same one or other ones in the past, that seem to backtrack over to this. I mean, geez, oh, Pete's. You got football, you got basketball, now we have Duke Lacrosse. Really? And now we're false. I just think the whole thing stinks. I would take the side of the falsely accused, because what are they going to do? When they're, if they're in jail or they're not in jail, it doesn't make any difference. You can't buy back time, can you?
No, absolutely can't.
There's no amount of money that they could get in settlement that could ever get their reputation back to where it is. There just isn't.
Yeah. It's just a rotten apple all around. And lastly, I want to bring it to Jacob here, and your thoughts on the Brian Banks situation, Duke Lacrosse, and the Believe All Women debate. Especially, in the case with Brian Banks, because he was set to be like this stud, this USC like prodigy. He's supposed to go to the NFL and do great things. Now, he did actually get signed by the Atlanta Falcons, and he played in the preseason game. So he did say, I did get to live my NFL dream, But to the rest of us, it clearly was not enough, because he was robbed of what he could have been. But no, just want to get your thoughts on that and the Duke Lacrosse team and anything else you want to share.
Let's bring this part up. For a second. Let's bring it back to the Emmitt Till thing we had from the first time.
Okay.
We're saying, what's a good way we can start? And I said, they watch the younger people having a more diverse world around them. I'm saying their friends, they're all that. That's how to help all of us having different diverse friends and having respect for it. That's going to help that. But here's another thing. when we can, if we at Sideline Sports and other places can make a realization and quit and just quit the exotic crap that media does. We don't do the thing. We're going to listen to everything. Here's the deal. Guess what? Rich white kids can be entitled jerks. We know this. But guess what? They can be innocent too. You can accuse them and be innocent. They brought that. I mean, the media just destroyed them. Like they were going to be. It destroyed their lives. They had to. Some of them had to sue to go get their thing, and some. I think some were like lawyers now and stuff like that. But some of them never got their life back.
Yeah.
Black kids in these small neighborhoods can be criminals. They can commit terrible riots like we saw the summer of 2020. You know what I mean? All of those. But that's not all of them either. That's not all of them either. Anywhere that's not. But what did we see? Whether it's on Fox or CNN or whatever, we see the fires going all over those big cities, big monstrous fires. And guess what? CNN plays the shame game, but then they keep showing that.
Yeah.
So they can. So is MSNBC, so they can keep showing that. Oh, they did that. Oh, but we're showing it because we feel sorry for him. No, you don't. You're lying because you're just getting people. Guess what? Liberals can be racist too.
You get them riled up.
Huh?
They're doing it because they want the people riled up.
You're riling it. And it's like, guess what? You get a kid like Brian Banks who was doing good. You want to know what? Remember when Nipsey Hussle died? You know how many people were absolutely. You go on Twitter, how many people absolutely thought they never heard of him. They thought he was just a thug.
Exactly.
They thought he was a thug, and this was a guy who's trying to save his dang neighborhood.
Yes.
He's trying to save his neighborhood. There was just one. There was one straggler shot him. You know, and everything like that. He was trying to do good, but we don't get these. I mean, we didn't hear anywhere near enough about what Nipsey Hussle was doing.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, you'd hear it maybe on BET, maybe on that stuff like that, but those niche. You don't hear. Guess what? There are going to be rich white kids who do good also.
Yeah.
It's like, here's the thing, and then you're going to hit kids. And guess what? Rich white kids rape.
Mm-hmm.
And black kids rape, and they do. Get it all is what I'm saying.
Get everything.
Get it all. Quit going exotic. Quit going. Quit trying to make everybody an enemy. Quit making everything the enemy. And so you want to know what happens when you make everything the enemy? And let's say you may also make Donald Trump into a cartoon character. He wins again.
Yeah.
He wins again. Because there is no one like him that just loves the idea of strife, who loves everything. You want to know what beats him? Ignoring him.
Thank you.
Right now, Ron DeSantis. Completely ignoring him, and it's irritating Trump. It is like, you want to know who else did that? Michelle Obama. She called him 45. She still does to this day. You guys want to beat him, you do those things. Pay attention. But no, we're an emotional nitwits. We're the emotional nitwit. And it's not just the fans.
And, back to the Nipsey Hussle thing, and granted, whether you actually listen to rap music or not.
I know, but I heard what he was doing.
Whether this guy was a rap artist, a country singer, an R&B artist, an actor, or what have you, anyone on this panel can respect a man who was building communities, his philanthropy. He actually was creating. Remember in the beginning when I said the need to create positive dialogue with police departments? Yep. He was doing just that at the time that he died. He wanted to have a meeting with the commissioner of LAPD on how to have positive communication between the police and black communities. That's what he had that meeting set up at the time that he died. Anyone would respect that. Anyone would.
Yeah. But it's like, but you know something? I did not hear that until years earlier, years later is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that myself because not enough ever comes out. It is all quick. It's all a quick shot. It's all strife. It's all ratings. It's like Bill Maher said it himself. the news used to be the loss leader for a TV station. And while now it's not a TV station anymore, really, remember, it's all streaming. In truth, why can't it be a certain specific loss leader again?
Right.
Especially if NBC can own 1,000 of these, especially, this whole Bud Light thing, this whole thing with the whole deal right now. I mean, Bud Light's going to lose their ass. I'm just going to say it that way. They're going to lose it, but they're also going to get sold for a loss. Then there's 69 other brands in InBev. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
NBC can be into streaming. They can get sold. They have their own thing. They probably have 70 other stations themselves. I'll bet you anything. They're owned by a certain thing. They'll just go to somewhere else. It's just, you can be a loss leader anyway, especially when everybody owns everybody owns like 50 different deals. Like 4 different companies own 50 different things. It's 100 different things.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have about 5 minutes left, and then we got to get Scott over to the Sports Exchange. So real quick.
Everybody get a chance at this one?
Say again?
Did everybody get a chance at that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. Everything's good. So our final topic, and we'll just go around the panel just really quick because we got to get Scott over to the Sports Exchange, which is coming up next. Go to the South Florida Tribune on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. Give them that like and that follow, show a little love, and most definitely tune in tonight. He's got a loaded show for you guys. It's a really great vibe, great atmosphere. You all will love it. Wednesday night Sports Exchange over in the South Florida Tribune. So last topic, real quick. The first exclusive WNBA arena goes to Las Vegas Aces. I feel like it's a long time coming, especially when you have every other team that share an arena with a college or with an NBA counterpart or a college counterpart of sorts. This is a part of evolution, and whether it's one arena at a time, but this is a part of the evolution of the WNBA. But I love the idea. I love that it's happening. And here's to everyone else getting their own arenas as well. Jordan, your thoughts on the Aces getting their first exclusive WNBA arena?
It doesn't surprise me that it's in Vegas because, look, they have, the Raiders have their own stadium. The Vegas Golden Knights have their own. So it just makes sense that, the Aces got their own. I hope trend for the future that the WNBA teams actually have their own arenas and don't have to share it, because that should be theirs and nobody else's.
Right. Absolutely. And Scott, your thoughts about this?
Well, number one, Vegas is building everything. Why not build this too? So as far as I'm concerned, they're coming off a championship to begin with. They got Becky Hammond, although who knows for how long if she gets an NBA job, which I think is inevitable anyways. But why not? They're a model organization, and I think they got some good investors that really want a piece of that action. And women's basketball's taken off. But I'm really happy for the Las Vegas Aces. They've come a long way since they started, but Vegas is building everything. So why not have Vegas be the first? And I hope other arenas are built as well after this one.
They're about to be full because they're pretty much all but gonna get the A's. So and all of this happening within like the last 5 years is amazing. But finally, Jacob Christner, your thoughts on this whole thing? Las Vegas Aces first to get their own arena.
Bringing it up real quickly, I'll tell you this, Scott. Bring up what you were saying with Becky Hammond. If it's not Hammond, it's going to be some other woman that does not have her same credentials. So because they're going to try to force that in, either way, and it's like because they did it.
No. Becky Hammond will be the first.
You're right. I'm saying it needs to be, is what I was saying. It's like, because they were working on the ESPN was working on Dawn Staley. Dawn Staley doesn't have 1 minute of pro coaching experience. Becky Hammond won a summer league.
I've advocated for Becky Hammond to be the next head coach of the San Antonio Spurs.
Oh yeah, and
I still always believe that.
We all did.
Yeah, and I hope she does, but who knows? The Toronto Raptors are capable of anything. I wouldn't be surprised to see her go north of the border. It's not like she's inheriting a bad roster.
But that's all I'm saying is when you want to commit, when you want to bring history, when you want history, there's people want it bad enough. They brought Kim Ng in. Kim Ng should have been the White Sox. Instead, she gets Miami, who's going to go nowhere.
Well, I disagree with you there.
I'm saying I like Kim Ng. She's been around since 1990. Started with the White Sox. I'd rather been her there.
Well, I'm sure there's a little bias between Chicago and South Florida. What do you expect?
But no, the thing is about the Aces. Here's the thing: we need to put a first video next week. If you can pull this off, Jay.
Mm-hmm.
If you can pull this off, find that video on Twitter or whatever. Let's see if we can put this thing on and show the video. It could be our first video on here next week. Our first thing to show.
All right.
Because pretty sweet little deal.
Nice. Absolutely. Well, that is our show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to Pundit's Pundit. Sorry we had a little technical difficulties, but we got off a whole show and we still got time to spare. So Scott's going to boogie on to the South Florida Tribune, and you should do the same thing because it's part of the loaded Wednesday night slate. You know, you got the Pundit's Pundit. Now you're going to have the Sports Exchange coming up next, which is an awesome show. Once again, loaded show. Awesome vibes, awesome topics. Be there. And then right after that, come on right back to the Sideline Sports Network for Confidential, hosted by JB Ellis. Jacob Christner is going to be there. And Scott is going to be there because he covered the Marlins Cup series. He's got a lot of material for you. He's got a lot of findings. So definitely looking forward to having him on there. And, well, for myself, Jordan Long, Jacob Christner, Scott Morganroth, we will see you all next week. Thanks for tuning in. Now, head on over to South Florida Tribune. Later.